All Coronation Street spoilers for next week as Carla faces deadly danger. Monday, March 17th. As Evelyn opens her birthday presents, she explains to Fiz and Tyrone that she needs to help her addict daughter, not push her away. Desperate for a fix, Cassie calls a dealer. When Ken overhears Tracy telling Evelyn, Roy and Nina how Cassie spent the night in the ginnel, Ken's disgusted while Evelyn's worried sick. Cassie meets the dealer in the precinct, but as he pulls out the drugs, Roy arrives and threatens to call the police. Lauren tells Dee Dee how grateful she is to her for going ahead with her pregnancy and giving Frankie a chance of a normal life. When James arrives for a visit, Dee Dee secretly skips her hospital appointment to spend time with her brother. But when she gets an urgent text from Lauren, Dee Dee heads to the hospital. Lauren reveals that they've found another donor for Frankie, meaning he won't have to wait until her baby is born. Daniel suggests to Daisy they do something to commemorate her baby as it might help her come to terms with her loss. Daisy tells Kit her plans for a small memorial, but he seems disinterested. In the Rovers' backyard, Daisy, Daniel and Jenny light candles and reflect on the loss of Daisy's baby. But when Mick blunders in from the ginnel, Daisy fumes. When Lisa reveals that Betsy is too scared to leave the flat while Rob is on the loose, Carla offers to take the day off and look after her. But when there's a crisis at the factory, she heads out. Alone in the flat, Betsy's terrified when the door buzzer goes. Wednesday, March 19th. As Carla drops Roy off at the hospital, she spots Rob's prison guard, Mandy. Carla orders Roy to keep an eye on her while she calls Lisa. As Mandy heads out of the hospital car park, Carla and Lisa set off in pursuit. Meanwhile, back on the street, Tracy is shocked to come face to face with Rob in the ginnel. When James suggests to Dee Dee that he and Danny could adopt her baby and provide it with a loving and safe home, Dee Dee's stunned. How will she react? Daniel has a word with Dylan and warns him to steer clear of Brody. But his words fall on deaf ears. Sean visits Dylan in the STC and is pleased to see that he's settled in. But as he leaves, Brody approaches and demands Sean fetch him a burner phone or he'll make Dylan's life a misery. Ken tells Tracy that her treatment of Cassie was unforgivable. He's off to the Peak District for a few days, and by the time he returns, he wants her gone. Debbie calls in streetcars wanting to know where her cab is. When Eileen can't find her booking, Debbie's furious. Eileen reveals that she's got a lot on her mind as her sister's got cancer. Brian's horrified to hear this. Evelyn offers to give up her studies to help look after Cassie. Thursday, March 20th. Rob persuades Tracy to meet up with his contact and collect his fake passport. Mary watches intrigued as Tracy accepts a package in the ginnel. As she urges Rob to get going, they're startled by Mary hammering on the door. Rob tries to make his escape, but his legs give way and he screams in pain. Tracy manages to get rid of Mary, but when she enters the kitchen, she's horrified to see Rob lying on the floor. When Rob suggests that they should leave together and start a new life, Tracy's stunned. Sean visits Dylan and reveals how Brody tried to blackmail him, but he intends to report him. Dylan's horrified and begs Sean to let him handle it. Dylan tells Brody that there's no way his dad will smuggle in a phone, but he's got him to agree not to report the incident. Brody and his mates enter Dylan's room to teach him a lesson. Having taken a call from the hotel informing her there's a problem with the electrics, Debbie enlists Mick's help to sort it. When Mick explains that it was a planned outage and she was sent an email from her energy company, Debbie's adamant she never received it and refuses to pay Mick. Dee Dee discusses the adoption process with her social worker and confirms that she'd like to arrange a meeting with the prospective parents. Over lunch, Julie explains to Eileen and Todd that she wants to discuss her funeral. Eileen can't face it and heads out. Coronation Street heartbreak for Evelyn as Cassie is pushed to the edge. Evelyn returns to Weatherfield. There will be heartbreak for Evelyn Plummer on Coronation Street upon her return to Weatherfield as she learns of Cassie's trouble with addiction. Evelyn left the cobbled streets in recent months after being accepted onto a university course, but will make a return to Weatherfield as she pays a visit to her family. This will come after her daughter, Cassie, relapsed in her battle with drug dependency, with the character spiraling after being shunned by the rest of the street when she was exposed for drugging Ken Barlow. In scenes set to air next week, Evelyn will learn of her daughter's relapse, though she urges the need for compassion in a heartfelt conversation with Fiz and Tyrone, explaining that they should be bringing Cassie closer instead of pushing her away despite her flaws. Later in the week, Tracy informs Ken, Evelyn, Roy and Nina that she had noticed Cassie spending the night in the Ginnel. Knowing that Cassie was sleeping on the streets, Evelyn begins to worry whilst Ken is enraged. Cassie, meanwhile, organizes a meeting with her dealer at the shopping precinct, though the exchange is interrupted by a furious Roy. As the dealer scurries off, Roy threatens to call the police and urges Cassie to get help. With Evelyn showing a more compassionate side to her daughter, Claire Sweeney shared with Digital Spy and other press that her character would be surprised by Evelyn's reaction, explaining, Cassie expects a right rollicking from Evelyn. She expects Evelyn to turn on her, which is her normal reaction. But Evelyn has a real change of heart and supports Cassie. She stands up for her. Cassie can't believe her mum is seeing her and sticking up for her. Even though Evelyn doesn't believe a word she's saying, there's something in Evelyn that goes, "This is my daughter." They were great scenes with Maureen Lipman and me. I always love doing two-handers with her. Coronation Street, Dylan's nightmare begins as Brody turns nasty. Sean receives threats over Dylan's safety. Coronation Street's Dylan Wilson faces terrible danger in the secure training center next week. Dylan becomes a target at the facility as his new friend Brody finally turns nasty. Viewers have recently seen Brody befriend Dylan, who has been sentenced to a 6-month stretch in the STC for his role in Mason Radcliffe's tragic death. Brody has appeared welcoming towards Dylan and has repeatedly carried out favors for him. But the bad boy has confided in the other inmates about having an ulterior motive. Next week, teacher Daniel Osborne tries to warn Dylan that Brody is not to be trusted. He encourages him to keep his distance from Brody, but the impressionable teen refuses to listen. Later, Dylan's dad Sean Tully visits him in the STC. He's relieved when it seems that Dylan has settled in and hasn't encountered any problems. Sadly, Brody soon swoops in for a quiet word with Sean, demanding that he supply him with a burner phone, otherwise he'll make Dylan's life a misery. The next day, Sean pays a second visit and warns Dylan about Brody's ruthless blackmail attempt. Sean vows to report Brody for what he did, but Dylan begs his father to let him handle it. When Dylan next sees Brody, he explains that Sean is refusing to supply the burner phone. However, he adds that he has managed to convince Sean not to report the threat. Brody is deeply unimpressed and awaits the right moment to sneak into Dylan's room with his mates to teach him a lesson. Is Dylan's nightmare only just beginning? Coronation Street airs these scenes on Monday, March 17th and Tuesday, March 18th on ITV1 and ITVX. Coronation Street confirms concerning signs ahead of Debbie's dementia diagnosis. Coronation Street airs more concerning scenes for Debbie Webster next week as her new dementia storyline gathers pace. Last November, Metro broke the news that Debbie will be written out of the ITV soap after receiving a dementia diagnosis, with a source telling us the plot would be a devastating watch for fans. In recent weeks, there have been several clues pointing to Debbie's fate as she's experienced moments of forgetfulness. In scenes to air next week, Debbie's symptoms start to worsen as she has 2 run-ins with other Weatherfield locals. First, Debbie calls in at Streetcars, wanting to know where her missing cab is. But when Eileen Grimshaw can't find her booking, Debbie's furious. Eileen then suggests it could be her mistake as she's got a lot on her mind following the news that her sister Julie Karp has cancer. However, Hotel manager Debbie has a similar episode later in the week with newcomer Mick Michaelis. Having taken a call from the hotel informing her there's a problem with the electrics, Debbie enlists Mick's help to sort it. When Mick explains that it was a planned outage and she was sent an email from her energy company, Debbie's adamant she never received it and refuses to pay Mick. Will Debbie's loved ones soon begin to piece together the concerning signs about her memory? Actress Sue Devaney first appeared as then 15-year-old Debbie 40 years ago and stayed for a year before making an unexpected comeback in 2019. Fans were in uproar at the news that she is being written out of the ITV soap, with some even setting up an official petition to save the beloved character. However, Metro understands that Debbie's storyline has a long way to play out, with Sue staying on our screens beyond 2025. Coronation Street airs these scenes from Monday the 17th of March at 8 p.m. on ITV1 or stream first from 7 a.m. on ITVX.
Các bạn vừa theo dõi một sản phẩm của Streetspoilers TV. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại.